Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming up on its 9th anniversary, and there's only one logical outcome for this game escaping the clutches of the Wii U, and we're going to break down everything in this video. But before we get into that, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now, we've discussed Xenoblade Chronicles X coming for multiple years on this channel. There's been multiple times I've discussed it even within this year. People constantly bring up this game and want to get my opinion on what could happen as we inch closer and closer towards Nintendo starting a new generation. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the only outcome that we could see for this game. Now, for those who don't know, if this is the first time that you're watching or wanting to understand about Xenoblade Chronicles X, it's a 2015 massive open world RPG in the Xenoblade universe, but isn't necessarily connected to the mainline Xenoblade trilogy of games. So think of it as like a side story or something different. It's a very unique game, and I definitely want to get into some of the reasons why we're seeing the issues with it coming over. But it was released back in 2015, and it was really special. It had these weird things because the Wii U wasn't a system that was known for being able to do or handle massive open world RPGs. That was something that third-party developers, and I would say even Nintendo themselves with Monolith Soft, had some issues with when it comes to loading and streaming the game, not having load times take forever overall. So there was these weird data packs that you can download on the Wii U that would help with the textures loading up faster and other things in the game. And if you have all of those downloaded and everything, it pretty much works like a dream. Now, there are some things here and there, and even if you have the data packs, there are some things that kind of load up a little bit later and all that. But all things considered, looking at what the Wii U is, the game is intelligently crafted, and it's really a impossible type of game on that hardware. Nobody made anything like that at all, not even close. Very similar to Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii. If you look at how massive that game is and what it did as a big open world or open-endedness action RPG, there's no other game on the Wii that even comes close to that size and scope. So Monolith Soft absolutely has some magic sauce with their development. Now, they did state a number of years back that it would be very difficult to port this type of game over to the Nintendo Switch because of time and money, resources, money. Monolith Soft is not the smallest dev studio, but they're not the biggest dev studio either. It's not like they've got 1,000 people all ready and willing to work on a variety of different projects. They have their stuff that they're doing with Nintendo. They also have their Takahashi Team 1 that's always working on new concepts and projects. So it's kind of difficult to get a game like this. And there's another reason why. I think they wanted to focus on the main trilogy. Remember, when people were asking them about Xenoblade Chronicles X, this was before, I think, even Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition released in 2020. So they were trying to get that game ported over from the Wii, which had a ton of challenges going from the Wii to the Nintendo Switch. A lot of stuff that needed to be done and adjusted with that game. So they ended up doing that, and then they still had to do Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Future Redeemed. They were still trying to target all of that and get everything together. So if you look at that type of workload overall, plus doing Tears of the Kingdom, plus doing Splatoon, plus doing Animal Crossing with their other studios, it was a lot of work and necessarily not the manpower to get something like Xenoblade Chronicles X, which would take a good amount of effort over to the Nintendo Switch. Now, I still felt throughout that time that they could get something done. Heck, as far back as 2021 or so, we were talking about this, but obviously it has not come to pass. I was absolutely wrong on that one. Now, if you look at it in today's day, from when they said, hey, it'd take too much time and money and all of that, they've gotten bigger. And I think that they've cleared their plate on what they actually wanted to do, which was the Xenoblade trilogy and focusing in on that. That's why I feel that the only outcome for this game with Xenoblade Chronicles X will be to target the Nintendo Switch 2. And that's for a plethora of reasons. Now, I do feel that on the Nintendo Switch 2 compared to Switch, you can truly take that game and actually remaster it. I think on the Switch, considering the power gap, and yes, Switch definitely is stronger, it has more resources, more RAM, memory bandwidth, all that good stuff. It's a better system overall, but the leap over the Wii U, I don't think would be substantial enough to truly get something that could make it look way better, like a real remaster. Essentially, I think it would be more of a port, more of taking that same game and putting it on the Nintendo Switch. But on the Nintendo Switch 2, you can take that game and you'd probably have the overhead to actually make it 60 frames per second. You'd have the overhead to make it to where it's probably running that 1080p or DLSS higher to make it even look better. There's a lot of things based off of the rumors of what we've seen, just based off of the most basic rumors that are out there when it comes to what the Nintendo Switch will do. You can absolutely take that game on the Wii U with Xenoblade Chronicles X and actually do a real remaster with it and probably have, I would say, less development time and less stress trying to get everything going and running at a good frame rate and a good clip and look good. I think that it would look very similar to how it looks on the Wii U on the Nintendo Switch, whereas with the Switch 2, with that overhead and being much stronger than what we have with the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, you can make it look and run a lot better, and it'd probably be easier to do because of that extra horsepower that you do have. So I do think that that outcome of it coming to Switch 2 is really the only choice that they have at this point. Now that Nintendo is clearly moving to the next thing, I think that 60 frames per second would be incredibly good for a game like this, because unlike the other Xenoblade games which focus on the ground combat and all that, which 60 frames would be great for that, Xenoblade Chronicles X has a whole secondary thing to where you're inside of mechs and you can go back and forth between them, and with the open world, and it's completely just like this massive, huge thing. 60 frames flying around and everything would be really good for that type of game. So I do feel that all the Xenoblade games should get Nintendo Switch 2 versions at 60 frames. I think that would be incredible, but I truly feel that Xenoblade Chronicles X, having it on official Nintendo hardware at 60 frames and of course 1080p or above or whatever they decide to do, would be really good, and I think it would get people once again looking at that game. And I think that there is a lot of money to be made having that game run at a better clip overall. I think that people would be like, okay, yeah, it's off of the Wii U. Obviously, anything when it comes to not being on the Wii U and being on the Nintendo Switch or Switch 2, that would probably make better financial sense, because the Wii U was a financial failure in terms of consoles sold and everything. So I feel that on the Nintendo Switch 2, I think that it will pass up the Wii U very quickly in overall sales. So it would make sense financially to have it on there as well. And if you look at it, guys, the Wii U eShop is gone. It's completely gone. Physical copies are coming harder and harder to come by. This special edition is getting harder and harder to come by overall. As we go on, there's going to be less and less copies in terms of where you can find them regularly overall. One thing that you don't want it to be where you can't find it anywhere, or it's super expensive when it comes to the physical version of the game, and obviously there's no digital version to download, so then people are just like, all right, well, I'm just going to download it off the internet. I think that having it available for people to actually buy would absolutely encourage people just getting the real copy of it. So I do feel that that is something that Nintendo needs to address as well. Now, it's not going to be probably a top priority, or probably has not been a top priority for them, obviously, because we haven't seen it yet and they've been getting other things done. But I do feel that with the Nintendo Switch 2, it could shift over. And now, once again, I think that the big thing is that the Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy is done for them for right now. They're going to continue Xenoblade, but that story, the Claw Saga of Xenoblade, is done, so they can officially move on to other things. So I think that's definitely going to be a huge part in all of this. Now, I do feel that this game, when could it actually happen? I think that's where a lot of people want to know what's going on. And I think that it could be a buffer in between Monolith Soft's next big game. So the Nintendo Switch 2 is announced. I don't think it would be like at the reveal trailer for it or anything. If they follow the same game plan that they did with the Nintendo Switch, they have a reveal trailer sometime soon, right, later this year. And then they have a big event following year. So that would be 2025. They have a big event. I think that it could possibly be there, right, where they say, hey, we've got this and we've got this. Or what they could do is have their next big Xenoblade or next big Monolith Soft new IP at that show, and then later in a Nintendo Direct, they announce, hey, Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming over as well. That would kind of follow, if you're looking at Monolith Soft in particular, that would kind of follow what they did with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where we didn't see it at that first first look trailer, but then we saw it at the January 2017 presentation. We saw Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It released, okay? And then after that, we saw Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition at a Nintendo Direct. But once again, they were focusing on getting that trilogy out for players on the Nintendo Switch because they already knew that they were going to do Xenoblade Chronicles 3 at that point. They already started working on it. So I do feel that that could be the case for this one. But once again, they're not working on some type of like huge Xenoblade Chronicles X trilogy on the Nintendo Switch 2 or anything like that. At least I don't think that they are. So it might not have that type of priority to get it out as quick as possible like they did with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which that was about 3 years after the launch of the Nintendo Switch and in between Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but we'll see what happens overall with it. So I personally would love for them to have it at like a big event showcase. I think that would be super cool to tell people, hey, this is what Xenoblade Chronicles X is about. You don't have to play the previous Xenoblade Chronicles games to get into it, and we're gonna have all of these cool updates to the game. Obviously, I don't think like online play is going to be a thing. Maybe they keep that in there, maybe they won't. I mean, they kept them Bayonetta 2's online multiplayer, and that's still up to this day on the Nintendo Switch, so there is that. But if they included it, that would be super cool. And I think that actually having it, once again, with updates and advancements within the tech, that would be super cool as well. Instant loading times, which there wasn't really any loading times in the original unless you went to like, I think New LA, there was some loading times there or a loading time there, but it would be super cool if you can fast travel anywhere. Obviously, instant loading. The game uses the Wii U gamepad, like it's required overall for some of like the mining and some of the different stuff, having that actually pull up on the screen to where it'd be a single screen. That would be something that obviously they'd have to do as well. If you look at it, of course, the frame rate, everything there could be 60 frames, which would be nuts seeing those mechs zip around and fly around in 60 on the Nintendo Switch 2, or even having that like on a portable display doing that. That would be pretty crazy as well. So I do feel that there is a lot of opportunity here with Xenoblade Chronicles X. And once again, if it's going to happen, this is the only outcome that I see happening, not necessarily in this order or everything that I said, but the end result of it being a Switch 2 thing. Maybe they do a dual launch. There's always the small chance that they say, hey, look, it's coming out on Switch and the Switch 2. And Nintendo could still be supporting the system like that with bigger games or maybe even older games like remasters or ports or things like that that haven't came over from the Wii U. I mean, we still need to have Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD. So maybe they decide to do it on both systems. But at the end of the day, I think that Switch 2 at this point, now that we know that we're moving on to the Nintendo Switch 2, like the next successor, like it obviously has to be part of the plans because otherwise they would have already released it at this point. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles X? The outcome that is happening here, what's going on? When do you guys think this will happen? Do you think it's even going to happen at all? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.